So I'm now going to start setting up the web page based on the designs that Mr. Bush has done here. So the first thing, of course, is that we've designed for the web page to have a blue background. So if we switch back to Dreamweaver, that's easily achieved just by going down here at the bottom, clicking on Page Properties and changing the background color to blue. There we go. Now, Dreamweaver, of course, is very easy to use. It's very easy for us to add things to the page, and the great thing is that it actually then creates the HTML code for us, and it's the HTML code that actually then creates the web page for the web browser to have a look at. So, for example, if I drag one of my images from my images folder onto my web page, we'll see that the Dreamweaver creates the HTML code for us. So it's all very easy to use. Unfortunately, because of the nature of HTML and how it works, it does mean that it's very difficult to actually get objects on the page to where we want them. So for example, if I want to get this home button over on the right hand side or somewhere in the middle, you can see I can't drag it across to where I want it to go. I could start moving it around as if it was text, so I can put my cursor before it and press return to move it down. I can't use space to add spaces to it, so it's very difficult to move it around. So one method you could use, a very basic method to control the layout of your web page, is to use a table made up of individual cells, and the idea is you put the different objects or different parts of your website into a table. So if we take a look at, let's take a look at Mr. Butcher's design again, and we can see at the top here we need a little section for the logo, and then a longer section along the top there for the Ecotastic title. And then underneath, I also then want a kind of row here with 4 individual sections for each of my 4 buttons. And then down here, I've just got a larger section that I'm going to use for the main body of my text, for the main part of my web page. But also in the designs, I plan to have 2 little sections on the right-hand side here. So if I try and imagine what this looks like in terms of rows and columns, I probably need one row, another row for the buttons. This would be a row here, but because I've got 2 sections on the right hand side, this section here is going to be split up into 2 rows. And then columns, because of the individual buttons here, I probably go 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I want to set up a table with 4 rows and 4 columns to help me structure this web page. So going back to the Dreamweaver then, and we got to insert table, and 4 rows, 4 columns. That's fine, click on OK. And then I'm just going to drag that table out so it's covering the whole of the page. And this is what I'm going to use to structure my page. Okay, so that's where my logo will go. If I go back to the designs, my logo is going to go in that first box there. Now after the logo, actually my Ecotastic title is actually going to go right across. It's going to fill in the rest of the space along that row. So what I'm going to do, I don't need these 3 individual cells here on this row, because this is where the title is going to go. I'm going to press the left hand button on my mouse, keep it pressed down, and I'm going to go across and just drag and select those 3 cells there. I'm going to right click with the mouse, choose table, merge cells. And what it's done is just obviously merge those 3 boxes together to make one larger box, which I'm then going to put my title in. Going back to the design, on the next row then is where I'm going to have my 4 little boxes for my buttons to go in. So that's more or less how I want it with the second row, but maybe not that wide. So I'm just going to shorten the width, or the height if you like, of that row there, which then leaves these 2 rows here. And going back to my design, I now need to create a larger section on the left hand side here. So to do that, I'm going to combine these sets of cells here and merge those together, and then that leaves me with these two sections on the right hand side. I'm just going to drag that out, so those two sections there will correspond to these two parts that I planned out in my design. There we go. So I've got my initial layout sorted out, and now what I can do is actually start adding the content to my web page using this structure that I've set up.